Hello everyone and welcome to our next lesson. Just a reminder that I originally developed this course for the BANGTAN Academy Discord community, so if you'd like to find out more, please follow them on Twitter at BANGTAN Academy _ so you can get access to other materials and make friends to study with. You can also find me on Twitter at writer_court or on thebtseffect.com. Hello everyone, welcome to Learn Korean with BTS Chapter 18. This is the last chapter in Book 3. So let's go ahead and get started on page 98. So of course, after the lecture, try that top exercise and go back and listen with your language pin to these words. So here we're going to be looking at body part words as well as words for being sick. So the top three, we have mori for head. It can also mean hair, but here we're using it to mean head. 목, which means throat, and 배, which means stomach. Moving down to the bottom of the page, the first phrase we have is 목이 아프다, which means my throat hurts or someone's throat hurts. 머리가 아프다, to have a headache or for one's head to hurt. 열이 나다, to have a fever. 콧물이 나다, which means to have a runny nose. That has a pronunciation change there. So we have the word for nose, which is 코, and then 물, which is, of course, water. So if you think, nose water, like not, kind of. So this is, that shiut is in there because this is kind of a compound noun. I'm not 100% familiar with those rules. Just know that you will often see a shiut put into compound nouns or nouns that end in a vowel on the first syllable like this. So here it's not 컷, it's con. So it's a nian sound. So 건물, 건물이 나다, to have a runny nose. 기침을 하다, to have a cough. 감기에 걸리다, to catch a cold or to have a cold. 배탈이 나다, to have a stomach ache. 소화가 안 되다, which means like having indigestion or you're just not able to digest whatever you ate well. That one's kind of hard to translate, but I think of it like indigestion and just generally not feeling well in your stomach. Moving on to page 100 and 101, we have our first key expression, which is 못 and a verb, or a verb plus 지 못하다. So let's look at the example conversation first. The first person says, 일어나, 늦으면 성산 일출봉에서 해돋이를 못 봐, which means get up. If you're late, you won't be able to see the sunrise at Songsan. This Songsan 일출봉 is a location off of Jeju, and it's like a sunrise peak, so it's not really translated in the book or anything. Just know that Songsan 일출봉 is a location, and 해돋이 is sunrise. So here we're seeing it being used in 못 verb form. So 못 봐, to not be able to see something. And the other person responds, 나 너무 아파서 일어날 수 없어, which means I'm so sick that I can't get up. So if we want to look more closely at this usage here, it is for verbs of all types, so descriptive verbs as well as action verbs. It refers to states where you are unable to do something due to unfavorable situations or insufficient ability. So that's kind of a complicated way to just say that you can't do something, you're unable to do something because of the situation, because of circumstances. So if we look at this example, she's saying, if you're late, you're not going to be able to see the sunrise at this location. So that 못 봐, not able to see because or in the condition of if you are late. So 늦으면, if you are late, 해돋이를 못 봐, you won't see the sunrise. So that's the condition and the situation, the circumstance, however you want to think about it, being set up, saying in this circumstance you're not going to be able to do this thing. So both formats do have the same meaning. So 못 plus whatever verb as well as verb plus 지 못하다 it means the same thing. She could have easily said 보지 못해 instead of 못 봐, but also 못 plus whatever verb can also imply that you aren't good at something. In context, that'll make more sense because obviously in this example, she's not saying you're not good at seeing something. She's saying that you won't be able to see something if you don't get up. So this 못 plus whatever verb implies you're not good at something, you can't do something, and the opposite of that is 잘 plus whatever verb. So the examples they've given us here, these are on page 101. 저는 한국어를 잘해요, which means I'm good at Korean, I'm good at speaking Korean. That's saying you do something well because that 잘해요 at the end. The second example, 아직 한국어를 잘 못해요, which means I'm not yet good at Korean. So 잘 못해요 is to not do something well or to not be that great at something, and that's equal to saying 잘하지 못해요. The third sentence, 한국어를 전혀 못해요, which is equivalent to saying 하지 못해요. So that's saying you can't speak Korean at all. So just be aware that you can use 못 plus whatever verb as well as verb plus 지 못하다 to mean the same thing, but sometimes you can use 못 and 잘 to indicate being good or able to do something or not do something. Now let's look at some conjugations here. First we have 먹다. So that's just 못 먹다. You just put 못 in front of the verb. And then if you want to conjugate it the other way, you just take off 다, add 지, and then 못하다. So it's really simple because you're just adding that on and you're going to conjugate this 하다 part of 못하다 when you do your sentences, as long as you are using this 지 못하다 form. So this first example, 배가 불러서 더 못 먹어요. Because I'm full, I can't eat more. So 못 먹어요, you just put 못 in front of 먹다 and then conjugate 먹다 into whatever form you need it in. But if you want to use 지 못해요, we get 배가 불러서 더 먹지 못해요. So we're conjugating that 하다 into 해요. The next example, 가져가다. We get 못 가져가다 as well as taking off 다 and add 지 못하다. 가져가지 못하다. The example sentence, 짐이 많아서 다 못 가져가. Because there was too much luggage, I couldn't take it all. And the same exact meaning for the next sentence, 짐이 많아서 다 가져가지 못해. And then finally, 구경하다. So 하다 verbs are a little bit different because many 하다 verbs are putting together a noun with 하다 to make it essentially saying to do this noun. So it just turns it into a verb. But you have to remember to separate here. So here, because it's 구경하다, 구경 is like sightseeing or to look around. So we separate that and we get 구경 못하다. So 못 has to go before 하다 in this case. And then if you conjugate it the other way, you don't have to worry about that. You just conjugate 구경하지 못하다. The example sentence, 시간이 없어서 구경을 못해요. So that 을 is optional. You might see it, you might not, but that's because that is the noun part of this verb. Basically, that's the noun that means sightseeing. And then hada is the actual verb part. So that's why 못 goes in front of that, and you conjugate hada to 해요. So you can leave 을 in there or you can take it out. The second sentence, 시간이 없어서 구경하지 못해요. Because there wasn't time, I couldn't look around or couldn't go sightseeing. Just a note, when you do say 못 with hada, that shiut sound gets carried over. So it's 못하다 that gets carried over to that ah sound a little bit, as well as in 못해요. So you don't have to separate 못해요 like that. Just put it together, 못해요. Moving on to page 102 and 103, we have the second key expression, which is 있는 것 같아. So let's look at the conversation first. The first person says, 목소리가 이상해. 많이 아파? Which means your voice is strange, your voice sounds strange. Are you really sick? Or do you hurt a lot? Could be another translation depending upon the context. And the other girl responds, 목이 아프고 열도 나는 것 같아. Which means, yes, my throat hurts and I think I have a fever. So again, this is for any type of verb. It's used to express one's judgment or guess. For descriptive verbs, it can be used to show that something has been determined to be in a specific state based on experience. Basically, what that means is if you look at someone and say, well, they look tired, it's because you're looking at them and they look tired to you. So it's more like giving, your judgment, your guess, your opinion. This is one of the ways to give opinion. You might also see it translated as I think. It doesn't literally translate to I think, but that can be what it means in context because you're giving your opinion. So it's more like, this is my opinion, this is what I'm judging from this situation based on what I've seen, or this is my guess. So with action verbs, the subject is inferring based on experience that something is happening. So they might see someone doing something and say, oh, it looks like this person's doing this action. Or they might have knowledge that, oh, this person is probably doing this thing or probably did this thing. You can conjugate this form into past, present, and future, but here I believe they're just focusing on present tense. So because we're just focusing on present tense, we have un and nian for descriptive verb conjugations and nun for action verb conjugations. So let's look at some examples. We have descriptive verb 크다, so we're going to take off ta. Because it ends in a vowel, we're going to add just the nian. So we get 큰 것 같다. We just add 것 같다 onto that conjugation. And then 같다 can be conjugated into whatever form you need it conjugated into. The example sentence, 이 옷은 많이 큰 것 같아요. Which means it seems these clothes are too big. So you can think of it like it seems to me, whoever's speaking, it seems to me that whatever, and then you fill that blank in. So it seems to me that this is the case. This is my opinion of this. I think this. Next, we have 작다. Take off ta. This ends in a consonant, so we add 은. So we get 작은 것 같다. The example sentence, 저 옷은 조금 작은 것 같다, which means it seems that those clothes are a little small. Then we have 멀다, which is an irregular verb, so we take off ta. We also take off the 리을, which leaves us with just 뭐. Because it ends in a vowel, we're going to add nian, so we get 먼 것 같다. The example sentence, 호텔이 너무 먼 것 같아요, which means it seems the hotel is kind of far away or too far away. Then we have 가깝다, which is also irregular. We take off ta. Biip changes to u. So we have 가까우 ends in a vowel, so we add nian. 가까운 것 같다. The example sentence, 바다가 아주 가까운 것 같아요. It seems that the sea is really close, or the ocean is really close. Then we have action verb 먹다. Take off ta and add 는. We get 먹는 것 같아. The example sentence, 유키가 라면을 먹는 것 같아요. I think Yuki is eating ramen. It seems that Yuki is eating ramen. Then we have 만들다, which is irregular as well, so that's you have to worry about that for action verbs. It's still going to take 는, but we have to take off 다 as well as the 리을 and then just add 는, so we get 만드는 것 같다. The example sentence, 에릭이 음식을 만드는 것 같아요. I think Eric is making food. Moving on to the full conversation on page 104. First person says, 일어나. 늦으면 성산 일출봉에서 해돋이를 못 봐. Get up. If you're late, you won't be able to see the sunrise at this location, 성산. The second person says, 나 너무 아파서 일어날 수 없어. I can't get up because I'm too sick. 목소리가 이상해. 많이 아파? Your voice is weird. Are you really sick? The other person responds, 목이 아프고 열도 나는 것 같아. Yes, my throat hurts, and I think I have a fever. 너 어제 아이스크림을 너무 많이 먹었어. Yesterday you ate too much ice cream? And she responds, 맞아, 나는 약을 먹고 좀 쉴게. Which means, right, I will take some medicine and then rest a bit. So 약을 먹고 for to take medicine. 그럼 약 먹고 이 감귤자도 한번 마셔봐. Then take some medicine and also try drinking this tea that's like a tangerine tea. 같이 못 가서 미안해. I'm sorry we couldn't go together. 잘 다녀와, which means go and come back well. So it's like a greeting that you use or a parting that you can use when you're wishing someone to come back safely. So 잘 다녀와. I'll read it one more time. 일어나 늦으면 성산 일출봉에서 해돋이를 못 봐. 나 너무 아파서 일어날 수 없어. 목소리가 이상해. 많이 아파? 응, 목이 아프고 열도 나는 것 같아. 너 어제 아이스크림을 너무 많이 먹었어. 맞아. 나는 약을 먹고 좀 쉴게. 그럼 약 먹고 이 감귤자도 한 번 마셔봐. 같이 못 가서 미안해. 잘 다녀와. Now let's look at the second short conversation over on page 105. First person says, 왜 그래요? 어디 아파요? What's wrong? Are you sick somewhere? Does something hurt? And the other person responds, 저 소화가 잘 안 되는 것 같아요. Which is like saying, I think I have indigestion or my digestion is not working well is like a literal translation, but just, having stomach problems kind of thing. 속이 안 좋아요. So my insides don't feel good. 속 is inside. 안 좋아요 is, of course, to not be good. So my insides don't feel well. I don't feel well inside. Could be your stomach. It could be just in general. 많이 아파요? 같이 병원에 갈까요? Are you very sick? Should we go to the hospital together? 지금은 쉬고 싶어요. I want to rest right now. 조금 쉰 후에 같이 가요. After I rest for a bit, let's go together. So here they are saying 병원, which is literally hospital. If you're not aware, in Korea, at least a difference with America, often in America, in the US, you go to a doctor, like private office or maybe a state hospital, whatever you live nearby. You go there first and you don't necessarily go straight to the hospital unless it's an emergency or your doctor's office is located at the hospital. So there are a lot of private practice doctors here in the US, but in Korea, you just go to the hospital for anything because they're all there. You can just go straight to a hospital and it doesn't have to be an emergency. So I don't want there to be confusion there, like Pyongwon for indigestion. That's where you would go. So I'll read it one more time. 왜 그래요? 어디 아파요? 저 소화가 잘 안 되는 것 같아요. 속이 안 좋아요. 많이 아파요? 같이 병원에 갈까요? 지금은 쉬고 싶어요. 조금 쉰 후에 같이 가요. So that's it for this lesson. Congratulations on making it to the end of book 3, and I will see you for book 4.